All right, question number 3. I Love Wayne's World says, a pastor told me that it was a sin to watch Star Wars and Dragon Ball Z and listen to rock music because they are, quote, pagan. I'm willing to give these up if they are, but how do I know if it's a sin or legalism? Okay, first off, I want to say the most important thing that I heard in all you said there, I Love Wayne's World, is, and that's his username. I'm not just throwing out praise of Wayne's World randomly. But I think the most important thing you said, from my opinion, is that you're willing to give these up if there is sin. That's the heart that you want to approach this with. You want to say, God, whatever it is, if you say it's sin, I'll give it up. Whatever it is, that's my starting point. But now I'll ask the second question. Now that my heart is prepared to submit and be obedient to God no matter the cost. Second question, are they actually sin? So in my view, I'll just be super straightforward with you. When I hear someone say Star Wars, Dragon Ball Z, and rock music are pagan, and they just give it that broad brush, I think that they're not thinking rationally about things. I'm just being straightforward with you guys. I'm sorry if I'm offending you now. I don't mean to offend you, but I really do want you to know I think you're not thinking rationally. So if you were to define pagan, like get that word and give it a definition, it would have to be kind of like the word Christian. It has certain core doctrines, right? Pagan would involve the worship of pagan gods. Pagan would involve religious pagan commitments. Star Wars isn't pagan. I mean, it's possible that you think Star Wars statements about the Force are meant to actually be statements about reality. I don't think that's the case. I think most of us realize that's not the case. So this is fantasy realm. This is in the realm of fantasy. So pagan is believing these things are true about these pagan gods, Star Wars and the Force be with you, and all these phrases. While it can be a problem for people who start naively thinking these things are somehow true, it's just fantasy. So I would not call that pagan. Now you could say that if you did start to believe some of these Star Wars teachings about the Force is in all of us and and it has like a will and there's a light and dark side, well, this turns into kind of a weird pantheism, right? All of creation is deified, as well as this sort of dualism, the spiritual dualism of like there's evil and good in God, and they are balanced out, and they're intended to be balanced. This is one of the craziest things in the Star Wars universe, is that evil and good are supposed to be in balance. like we've got 50% good and 50% evil, and that's how it's supposed to be. Like that's weird, right? And of course, the whole idea of the Force changes and morphs over time. The current version, like I'm a Star Wars fan. The current version is different than it was in Luke Skywalker's day, and so it shifts and changes and all that. But I see it purely as entertainment, purely as disconnected from reality, not as preaching things. If you think it's preaching things, you probably shouldn't watch it. Dragon Ball Z, I don't know enough about. I tried watching some Dragon Ball Z, I just couldn't get into it. So yeah, I remember watching some random episode years ago because the students in youth ministry were really into Dragon Ball Z, and I was like, it was like 23 minutes of a cartoon of a guy flying, screaming on his way to a fight. He never gets there, nothing ever happens, and the episode's over. And I was like, pagan, I don't know. I don't know enough about it to answer that question. I suspect Dragon Ball Z leans more into the realm of fantasy than in the realm of pagan things. Like as if there's a pagan religion that has the beliefs that are in Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Z is promoting those. That I don't suspect. Rock music is a genre of music. This is the third category you gave me. Rock music is a genre of music. Genres aren't pagan. That, as a musician, let me tell you, right here. Okay, that was like an E string. Okay, that's not godly. It's not pagan. It's a sound. Okay, genres aren't inherently pagan. Some genres tend to lean towards carnal things. So death metal and heavy metal and stuff like that. There's even Christian bands that do these things. But those scenes, and I know from experience, those scenes tend to involve a lot of carnality, right? So like that's a reality that anybody who's seen those scenes up close should be able to admit. And, music that's, focused upon rage, that can tend to be unhealthy for people, not because it's pagan, but because it's focused on carnal things. So that can be a problem. But I don't want to have too broad of a brush when I say this. It's definitely a greater temptation in those areas. But rock music is just a genre, rock music. That's a very broad genre too. To say that it's pagan because of the genre doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I think Psalm 150 implies that we want to use music to the glory of God of all stripes and all kinds. But I'm not one of those who naively says, go listen to Star Wars, watch Dragon Ball Z, and listen to all the music you want. Who cares? Don't think. Instead, I want to say, you need the ability to discern what's right and wrong in the music or movies you watch. And you need the ability to have like somewhere on your radar where you say, I'm not watching that. That's inappropriate. And if you don't have those things, if you're just so in love with liberty that you have no wisdom, there's a problem there. So those are my honest opinions. You guys, listen, I speak to you now as not as like I'm your pastor telling you what you have to do. I'm a brother in Christ. Consider the wisdom, the thoughts I gave you just now as a brother who has an opinion that you can consider, weigh as you work through your own thoughts on these issues. I really do mean that sincerely. I did not give you a ruling. I just gave you my thoughts for what it's worth.